Good morning, televiewers of my media Prime Television. You're on to your favorite bilingual program, The Brief, which is dedicated to the review of striking headlines in the papers. On today's edition of the program, the newspapers are focusing on the meeting held in Yaoundé yesterday by Minister Paula Tanganji with regional governors as well as heads of securities and defense forces to chart way forward on how security can be maintained across the national territory, as well as fight inflation of prices of basic commodities. And the newspapers are still talking about the meeting at the Star Building last week to evaluate how far the committee that was set up to implement the resolutions of the major national dialogue has gone, and we shall be dwelling on that this morning. What experts are saying and what stakeholders are said during the meeting which held at the Star Building recently. Bomotonguina, Gwladys is here. Let's find out what she gathered for us in the French language newspaper. Bonjour Gwladys.
Bonjour Lasha, bonjour à vous mesdames, messieurs, merci de nous retrouver pour cette autre édition de Débrief, votre émission bilingue de revue de presse. Alors ce matin, nous débutons avec le journal L'étudiant qui nous parle de la chicha au Cameroun, de la suspension de la chicha au Cameroun. En effet, la chicha, elle a été interdite, la enfumée, la pipe à eau est toujours vendue et règne en grand maître dans les lieux de réjouissance à Yaoundé, alors même que le ministre de l'administration territoriale l'a interdit le 7 mars 2022. Écho des reports au quartier briqueterie de distribution. À lire donc dans cette édition du journal L'étudiant, à sa page 3 jusqu'à 6. En page 2, le journal nous parle de Youth Connex et Boloa dans le réseau. En page 7, le journal nous parle de contestation de l'OBC, malheur au dernier. En effet, environ 40 requêtes sont déjà enregistrées en 3 jours à la date de débutoire. Nous poursuivons donc, mesdames, messieurs, ce matin avec le journal Mutation Quotidien. Le journal Mutation Quotidien parle en grand titre des membres du gouvernement décédés. Le journal nous parle de la Syrie noire. Déjà 2 ministres délégués et un secrétaire d'État ont été décédés. Un remaniement ministériel s'impose donc, précise le journal Mutation ce matin à sa page 7. Toujours à sa page 7, le journal nous parle de sécurité et d'inflation, le gouverneur qui sensibilise dans les populations. En page 8, le journal nous parle du phénomène beignet haricot bouilli. La polémique est donc enflammée dans les réseaux sociaux au Cameroun. Nous poursuivons ce matin avec le journal Le Jour. Le journal Le Jour parle de finances publiques. La dette du Cameroun atteint donc 12 milliards de francs CFA. La dépréciation du franc CFA face au dollar augmente la dette du Cameroun à 420 milliards de francs CFA en un an. Les détails sont donc en page 4 du journal Le Jour ce matin. À sa page 2, le journal nous parle de jeu de la solidarité islamique, les Lions U23 battus par forfait par l'Algérie. En page 3, le journal nous parle de tennis de table, une médaille de bronze pour le Cameroun. Nous clôturons, mesdames, messieurs, ce matin avec le journal Émergence quotidien. Émergence nous parle en grand titre de rebondissement. Voici donc les détails du contrat entre la FECAFOOT et le coq sportif. Les détails sont donc en page 3 du journal Émergence quotidien ce matin. À sa page 2, le journal nous parle de cadres professionnels d'artisans vers la dynamisation de l'écosystème entrepreneurial. En page 8, le journal nous parle du programme budgétaire 2023-2025, les priorités du gouvernement. Mesdames, messieurs, voilà tout pour vos titres ce matin en langue française. Place à la découverte des titres en langue anglaise avec toi, Lasha.
Thank you very much, Gwladys Bomotonguina. Let's kickstart this morning with the Lone English Daily, the Guardian Post newspaper. The Guardian Post this morning is focusing on what was said during the evaluation meeting of the recommendations of major national dialogue at the Prime Minister's office. As atrocities, unrest persist in the northwest and southwest regions, pressure mounts on government for another dialogue to end crisis. Regine Barons, civil society actors at recent evaluation of major national dialogue recommendations implementation say fresh and sincere as well as frank dialogue only way out of the crisis. These are the resolution or what was said during the evaluation meeting that took place at the Star Building in Yaoundé, chaired by Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Diongute. We stay to talk politics. This time around, we are talking about Social Democratic Front Party. The SDF Littoral accuses O.C. Joshua of engaging actions that tarnish party's image. The paper tells us further that the Littoral Regional Executive Committee of Opposition Social Democratic Front Party, the SDF, has accused the first Vice National Chairman or President, Honorable O.C. Joshua, of what they termed misdeeds and compromises which tarnish the image of the party. The declaration from part of the resolutions taken at the August 7 Ordinary Regional Executive Committee meeting, which held in Douala at weekend, chaired by Ninche, Honorable Jean-Michel Ninche, who is the regional president for Littoral, regional president of the Social Democratic Front Party for the Littoral region. We stay in this, we stay with the Guardian Post newspaper to talk about NAGDA meeting in Douala. NAGDA, the Ndong Awin Cultural and Development Association meeting in Douala, where Nico Hale hails 8 Awin women for daring into leadership positions. The paper tells us further that revered barrister at law and award-winning peace crusader of international repute, Ntumfo Barrister Nico Hale, has hailed some 8 women for daring to pick up leadership roles within the ranks of development or Ndong Awin Cultural and Development Association, NAGDA. The renowned lawyer was speaking in Douala over the weekend during this meeting that was held to celebrate these 8 women that are championing developmental projects in Ndong Awin. As the paper tells us, we leave the Guardian Post newspaper. We are with Chronicle Times. Chronicle Times newspaper is interested in what was said at the meeting at the Star Building, Major National Dialogue Recommendations, Implementation, Diaspora Ways in, salutes government's efforts and ingenuity. The meeting which held at the Star Building to evaluate, that was the 4th meeting to evaluate the implementations of recommendations of Major National Dialogue, as we are told, and promising unity and nation building in digital, or promoting unity, nation building in digital era. ICT University founder Professor Victor Mbarika recommends e-patriotism. He was speaking during the 2nd summit or African Summit on Digital in Africa, as the paper tells us. You can read more in this edition of the Chronicle Times newspaper, talking about the 2nd edition of Africa Digital Forum, which was organized by the ICT University in Cameroon. And of course, the founder Victor Mbarika has said that ICT or promoting unity, nation building in the digital era, that e-patriotism is needed for such a move to materialize, as the paper tells us. On to the Herald Tribune. The Herald Tribune newspaper is focusing on this alarm that has been sounded by bishops across Africa. The paper tells us the alarm is on illegal immigration, and the Bishop or Association of Episcopal Conferences of the Central Africa region and the many symposium of Episcopal Conferences of Africa and Madagascar have raised concerns seeing so many youths are risking their lives through Mediterranean Sea and of course the Sahara Desert to travel to America and Europe. These fears were raised by the bishops during separate conferences held recently in Equatorial Guinea for the ASERAC and Ghana for SECAM respectively. More details on page 12 of this edition of the Herald Tribune newspaper. And the former SDF scribe appointed as executive director of Forminio Foundation. You can read more in this edition of the Herald Tribune newspaper. We are back in the studio to continue discussing the major headlines this morning, and of course we are welcoming Maitre Alex Ndive, who is joining us this morning on the line to UK. And our condolences to you, Maitre Alex, for the loss of your sister. We learned that you were mourning your sister. A funeral was organized yesterday in London in memory of your sister.
Thank you, Mr. Lasha. Thank you for condolence. And my funeral was organized yesterday. Happy that come through this period. And always be loved, and always be loved, always missed. And what Lasha, that is happy to participating in the beautiful of the Cameroon. What caught my attention today was Prime Minister Juvett talking about the evaluation of the resolution of the dialogue. May I seize the opportunity and request, ask Right Honorable Juvett, I would like to have a debate about the national dialogue with the Prime Minister, because Mr. Juvett is misleading the public. There was no resolution. He's talking about they have given us special status, one core status, one special status. Mr. Juvett is talking about resolution. Mr. Bia invited us to talk about the situation in Northwest and Southwest, not more. The people who are supposed to talk about this should have been only the people of Northwest and Southwest, without bringing other. You cannot be bringing people from the other region about Northwest and Southwest. The people who should have been in that national dialogue should have been only the Indian people of Northwest and Southwest. Mr. Juvett should be honest. He has elaborated a lot of things which are not true. He talked about illegal education development. And he talked about former West Cameroon. Why is Prime Minister Juvett saying former West Cameroon? Why is he not saying former La République du Cameroun? La République du Cameroun is still using his name in 1960. Why are you calling Northwest and Southwest Cameroon? We joined La République du Cameroun at West Cameroon. We did not join them at Northwest and Southwest. So I would really like Prime Minister Juvett to come and have a debate about the issue of the national dialogue. Once more time, and it's always a pleasure to be talking on your program to all of them.
Yes, Maitre, apparently the lines are really bad this morning. While the technician see what he can do with the lines, Gwladys, we continue with the discussion this morning in the studio. Maitre was just talking about the recommendations of major national dialogue, what the PM said during the meeting. There is a headline that caught his attention, Gwladys.
Effectivement, il a précisé le fait qu'il aurait souhaité que ce ne soit que les anglophones qui soient invités, en fait des Camerounais d'expression anglophone, qui soient invités à ce dialogue ou bien à cette cérémonie d'évaluation. Mais en réalité, je pense que là, je pense qu'il il s'est un peu trompé parce que on ne peut pas avoir juste des Camerounais d'expression anglophone qui vont débattre de ce problème parce que cette situation, elle affecte tout le Cameroun, tous les Camerounais en général.
Okay, Gwladys. The other pressing issue, the people who met at the Star Building, from what the Guardian Post newspaper is telling us this morning, that they were mounting pressure on government to organize another dialogue, a fresh, sincere dialogue for the Northwest and Southwest regions, for the crisis to, resolution of the crisis. They say they want another fresh dialogue, that President Forba should be thinking of organizing another fresh dialogue as a civil society, religious leaders and other guys who met at the Star Building.
Je pense que les recommandations, bien les demandes qui ont été présentées au gouvernement camerounais par certains sécessionnistes qui créent le trouble dans ces régions du pays, à savoir le nord-ouest et le sud-ouest Cameroun, sont très bien connus. On connaît très bien les demandes que ces derniers ont présentées au jour d'aujourd'hui jusqu'à ce moment. Donc je pense que effectivement, si ces derniers pensent qu'un autre dialogue national doit être fait, pour ma part, je pense que ça peut être une solution comme ça peut ne pas l'être. Et pour moi, je regarde un peu plus.
They said that sincere, inclusive dialogue, meaning that those who did not take part in the last major national dialogue,
doivent
like
être
the separatist
inclus
fighters, yes.
dans
We
ce
also
dialogue.
heard some of the people who came from the diaspora. They said government should grant amnesty in the likes of, Padi Asanga is one of those who said government should grant amnesty for those who are residing abroad, or some of the activists who have been advocating for atrocities in the Northwest and Southwest.
Effectivement, si on veut résoudre le problème de cette manière-là, c'est vrai qu'il faudrait donner l'amnistie à certaines personnes pour permettre qu'elles arrivent au Cameroun en toute sécurité, en toute impunité, sans toutefois se retrouver à être arrêtées et incarcérées. Et maintenant, ce que moi je pense, Lasha, c'est que ce problème au jour d'aujourd'hui perdu parce que on refuse juste d'accepter ce qu'il faut accepter. On refuse juste de laisser la main. Je pense qu'au jour d'aujourd'hui, la question que je me pose, c'est que pourquoi est-ce qu'on ne peut pas arriver à revenir sur notre Cameroun fédéral, avoir notre fédération, deux Cameroun dirigés avec deux gouvernements, mais avec une tête qui contrôle les deux gouvernements. Pourquoi est-ce que chaque partie du Cameroun ne peut pas gérer ses ressources, gérer ses fonds, gérer ses personnes? Lasha Kensley, si la décentralisation était la solution, ok, jusqu'à ce moment, ces gars ne seraient plus dans la brousse.
Est-ce que c'est vraiment implémenté?
S'il y avait la décentralisation, je reprends mes termes, s'il y avait véritablement la décentralisation au Cameroun, ces gars ne seraient plus dans la brousse avec les armes. C'est justement parce que le projet de décentralisation qui a été implémenté n'est pas encore effectif ou n'est pas encore, on n'arrive pas encore à avoir les preuves.
Ne veut pas qu'on implémente ce que vous êtes en train de dire.
C'est que la meilleure personne à répondre à ces questions-là, c'est ces personnes-là qui ont été nommées à ces différentes postes, à ces différentes fonctions. Pourquoi est-ce qu'elles n'arrivent pas à travailler de telle manière que les populations se sentent elles-mêmes actionnaires ou bien actives dans la gestion et la direction de leur territoire? Parce que c'est ça le véritable problème. Au Cameroun, Lasha Kensley, on a tellement de problèmes et c'est toutes les sociétés qui sont touchées. Ce n'est pas uniquement les régions du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest. Ce n'est pas seulement les villages reculés du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest. Moi, dans mon village, il n'y a pas de route. Je suis sérieuse, sincère. Et pourtant, je suis dans la région du centre. Et ce n'est pas une situation qui me plaît. Du tout, ça ne me plaît pas. Alors, si on me demande, je vais vouloir aussi que ma population dirige ses fonds et sa population pour pouvoir avoir aussi nos propres routes. Pas que ce soit quelqu'un qui soit assis à Yaoundé, qui décide de comment est-ce que si nos routes doivent être construites, et puis nous envoie peut-être, je sais pas moi trop quoi, un délégué départemental des travaux publics qui va arriver et puis peut-être bitumer la route et s'arrêter là. Non. Pourquoi est-ce que les populations ne peuvent pas elles-mêmes gérer leurs ressources, elles-mêmes s'occuper de leur développement? Au Cameroun, au jour d'aujourd'hui, on a passé la période où on acceptait tout. Il faudrait bien que les dirigeants du Cameroun s'en rendent bien compte. Qu'on a passé cette période où les Camerounais acceptaient tout. Où les Camerounais ne comprenaient même pas ou ne voyaient pas ce qui se passe. Okay. Au jour d'aujourd'hui, avec les réseaux sociaux, c'est pratiquement impossible qu'une route qui soit, je sais pas moi quoi, dans un fond du village, ne soit vue aux yeux et su de tout le monde, que cette route n'a pas été bitumée.
Don't you think that the problem is a general problem, like you rightly said, of all Cameroonians? It's not only about Northwest and
C'est justement ce que je suis en train de dire.
Also, why is it that the people of your own village, they are not carrying guns also to ask government?
Les populations de mon village ne prennent pas les armes ou bien ne revendiquent pas plus parce que au départ, ce n'était pas un accord. Ok? Il faut qu'on soit sincère. Ce n'était pas un accord. Là, on a fait un accord entre deux pays. Deux pays qui ont décidé de se mettre ensemble. C'est différent. Mais ça n'enlève pas que les problèmes que on peut rencontrer peut-être, je sais pas moi trop quoi, à Bambili, sont les mêmes problèmes qu'on peut rencontrer dans mon village. Moi aussi, je souffre d'injustice dans ce pays. Et c'est vrai. Parce que si je ne peux pas arriver dans un ministère et on me sert normalement, non, on va me demander qui m'a envoyé. Il faudrait que j'ai une recommandation de quelqu'un. Et puisque moi, il n'y a pas un quelqu'un qui est derrière moi dans cette administration, dans ce gouvernement camerounais, on ne va pas me recevoir. Alors, ces problèmes, ces revendications que les Camerounais du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest ont, sont les mêmes problèmes que presque toutes les villes du Cameroun vivent. Sont les mêmes problèmes, sauf que on est dans une direction où ici on a affaire avec une population qui sort d'un pays pour se rallier à un autre.
Okay, Maître Ale is back. Maître, I don't know if you are getting me now.
Hello?
Yes, are you there?
Yeah, I don't know if the line clear, right?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, that's beautiful. Yeah, I've been looking at what you guys have been talking about, Gwladys. I'd like to make this point when it comes about discrimination. We agree that all the parts of the Cameroons, they can discriminate against people. But we should not make the Anglophone and Francophone problem. It's different thing. What is important for us to understand, as I keep on saying, that country in Africa was created by foreigners, created by the French and the English. That's the country. And I keep on saying on the program, I want our people to know the Anglophone people is that the French part of Cameroon, using all the institutions they got from France, the economy, yeah. And why they have almost abolished all the institutions that they had inherited. They had translated and come to Nassau economy. You know, I saw Prime Minister was saying that our education system is different. No, it's not different. Anglophones are being forced to use economy. That's their education. Anglophones are being forced to use ENAM. That is their. So Prime Minister Juvett is misleading the people by saying that they are giving us our own education. Then he talk about us fixing our own laws. Prime Minister Juvett is misleading us by saying that we are using a different legal system. No, we don't have a Supreme Court. No, they still try the people of Northwest and Southwest in the military tribunal that was inherited in 1793 during the French Revolution to try political prisoners. So there's no difference. We are still using the same education as our brothers in the French part. We are still using everything that we use is the same. So I was saying on this program, I started by saying I'm inviting Prime Minister that let's have a debate about national dialogue.
Maître, many people took part in that evaluation meeting where for the fact that another major national dialogue should be organized. And this time around, sincere and honest one, and equally amnesty should be granted to those who are in the diaspora, especially the activists.
My problem is that we have something, what I would say, the conflict of interest that we have the ENU, which have been rebranded CPM since 1991, the same government. They have that conflict of interest that they want to stay in power, so they can never be a genuine and said that it will never happen. It will never, Mr. Lasha, because this guy, they are consolidating themselves to stay for power forever. So forget about it. It will never happen in our lifetime, except they see them out of power because they want to stay there. They will never agree. I will repeat it again. They will never. And I will tell you something. If you look at somebody like Prime Minister Juvett, I know him very well. He was my lecturer. If you look at him by 1966, he went to Moligo, and then he went to Ngwakele by 1977. He had a PhD in 1980. Then he became a professor at the University of 1980. I was about 7 years old. And the same people are still there. They don't want to go away. It's not just the Prime Minister. Look at all of them. These people have been there when I was in primary school. They have been in top position. He was director of ENAM. He was Minister of External Relations. So these people, they don't want to leave. That's the problem. How can you have a sincere dialogue? Want to stay in that position until after 9 years or what? So it's difficult. These people, they don't love Cameroon, is my opinion. If they love Cameroon, they are suppressing talent. Mr. Lasha, you and Gwladys, you are fit to take over the job of that logo one day, but there's no chance. That is not the country want to. You cannot be suppressing competent people. You talk about people coming from the diaspora. Who are the people? Look at their background. What experience have we got about them? Politics. The Prime Minister, I know all of them. They don't like me because they thought after the national dialogue, I will come and sing their hallelujah. I will go for what is right, I will not sing. And the Prime Minister, with all due respect, stop leading public. There was no national dialogue. Came with 8 committee, imposed it on the people. There was no debate. It was the fait accompli. If you love that country, you guys should be thinking to get away from power and leave people who are competent and leave people who understand how to run a country. Because I saw Prime Minister Ndive. What was he doing? He was lecturing. I would have loved to be invited on that program. So I would sit there. He will give his own account, then I give my own account on the same platform. But they don't do that. The thing running a country is to be lecturing. The Prime Minister does not have theater in Gwakele. If you want to talk politics, you are in the ruling party. With somebody like myself from British Cameroon National Party, I was in the national dialogue. You were not there. You just entered, you visit, and you were walking around. That's what you were doing. You were not part of the debate. So stop misleading the public, Mr. Prime Minister, with all due respect.
Effectivement.
We continue.
Oui, nous poursuivons ce matin, maître, avec le journal Le Jour. Le journal Le Jour nous parle ce matin, il nous déclare que le Cameroun, la dette du Cameroun s'élève déjà à 12 milliards de francs CFA à cause de l'augmentation de la valeur du dollar. Le franc CFA a dévalué.
It's better be if you see somebody like former President Gaddafi. What is dollar? What is France? Those are just money is backed by gold. We in Africa, we have gold. They have made the dollar to become an international currency and make believe. I don't believe in this way the foreign financial institution that they manipulate things. Money is just money. It's what money does. So why that when the dollar goes up, the France CFA, the French money, the money that's printed in France, the money that's owned by France, they keep on manipulating us. I remember during the days of Baladje, was he was French Prime Minister. He was the one valuing our money. He was the one talking about our interest rate. He was the one talking about our monetary policy. Then I will see people like Prime Minister Ndive come and say they are Prime Minister, they are leader. They are working for. That's what they are doing. They are not independent.
Okay, Metro Alex, this issue that one of the newspapers talked about, still the, bishops, the Herald Tribune is talking about bishops of Africa who have sounded alarm on illegal immigration in the African continent, that youths are risking their lives to go to the Americas and Europe through the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah, I can get talking about illegal immigration. You're talking about illegal immigration, right? Your question is not really clear, Mr.
Yes, I was saying that bishops in Africa have sounded an alarm on illegal immigration, that youths are risking their lives to go to the Americas and Europe through the Mediterranean Sea and Sahara Desert, and saying that if nothing is done to remedy the situation, things will soon go out of hand.
Mr. Lasha goes back to tell me that people that our young people going to the Mediterranean dying there because to stay power. Have you ever heard the government of the country or the African country? They never talk about that. They don't go into the process. Why do people their country a beautiful Africa? Why? Because there is no jobs. The people who are in power, you cannot aspire one day that I want to be director of city because they same stay there. So why some people are raising this concern? The people who are in power in Africa, the Buhari, all those people, I'm sure they were there before I was born, top position. So they don't want to leave. So the problem about our youth running away from beautiful Africa, because of these old people who don't want to leave power, they want to stay there forever. And if you have to create employment, you have to take our country Africa to become a continent to be attractive thing. But people, they have no hope of doing that. And until this people, they will start leaving power, and Juvett, Forba, Yongute, who was professor 1980 when I was just 7 years old. The same people cannot say that. That's why our youth are running away from that continent.
But the system, if these people leave, the system put in place, how would the system be broken?
Say it again, Mr. Lasha.
I'm talking about the system already in place. The people you say they will leave soon, they will one day leave. Even if they leave, what about the system that has been put in place? The same system continues.
The problem is that, again, why we sit here and blame people who are ruling on Cameroon, and we are part of the problem because we are not ambitious enough. We don't believe that we want change. We go and pray to God to bring that change. We don't want to, where we can use common sense, we are using God to pray. Or we pray for God to intervene. God is not going to intervene because sometimes people like myself, I come and sit on your program, I talk. That is God passing through me as a human. The people want divine intervention, they want the people power. Up to the people to bring change people. The country can change without using God. Just your pen, the way that we take, we need institutional changes. And I said, Prime Minister Diomute, with all due respect, he should not be lecturing us. He should come to the people, English TV. We sit there, we talk about the special status and debate about it, that we need equal status. How is Prime Minister Diomute benefiting Cameroonians as a Prime Minister? He doesn't benefit us. He's just there for himself and his family. So that's how most people in government office, how does he benefit us? Nothing. Mr. Prime Minister Diomute went to Bamenda and said that the Bamenda Babuchi Road, they will start it very, very soon. What have happened? What have happened, Mr. Prime Minister? In May, which year again? He said deep sea port was going to start in Victoria. What have happened? So if I come here, I come and say what they said to our Prime Minister Boris Johnson, that he lied. If I come and say Mr. Diomute lied, people look at me as if I'm disrespecting him.
Yes, Metro, we're talking about the general issues. We're talking about general. We are talking about general issues.
Don't say it, then don't do it. If you say something, don't do it. They call it English language. If you look at your dictionary, you're a liar. If you don't do what you promise.
Yes, we are talking about general issues in Africa that have been raised by bishops in the continent. Talking about this illegal immigration, the migration, what should be done to curb this or stop these youths from traveling? They have different reasons why they are traveling, not only for greener pasture. Some want to go for their education and other motives. What should be done to keep back these youths in the African continent?
There is nothing wrong for people to travel, depending on what you're traveling for. There's nothing wrong with that. You can travel to acquire knowledge. I remember when I was still in secondary school, the government of the Cameroon was giving a lot of scholarships to the youth to come abroad and study. But was there any plan to bring them back? The government was using taxpayers' money to sponsor young Cameroonians abroad, in Germany, in Britain, in France, a lot of money. But there was no plan to bring them back. So sometimes it's good travel. Sometimes it's nice to go and learn other culture. But the rate that people live in the country, the rate that they are living, you see no hope. You look at an average family in Cameroon, there are empty houses there. Everybody in the family is abroad and they have no hope to come back. It saddens us because one day we'll see that all the brains in our country will be drained away. It's good to make sure that when we have our people who come abroad, they are going there with the objective to bring that knowledge to come and contribute to the society. But as I said, when you have people like Buhari, where they have been in top office before I was born, still there. When you have people like Mr. Bia, who have been in top office before I was born, they are still there, or Kabaye, and it is difficult. And do these people, do they have a plan to develop our country? Can they create jobs that our youth will stay there? Things like in Cameroon, this in 1520, when the Portuguese, they came and created CDC. How many cities have Aijo created since then? How many cities has Mr. government created since then? If these people, they could create a plantation when they did not have the technology that we have today in 1520, then start asking yourself that how come that Aijo and the rest, they cannot contribute or construct the same thing after 60 years in power? If these people, they should construct locomotive, railway, very behind the late 18th something in the Cameroons, how come that they cannot do the same thing? If these people, they had Tikowa, a seaport in this time where they used to do slavery in Victoria, after 60 years, how come that behind Aijo cannot do it?
Is the means, Metro Alex, is the means there? Is the means
that we go to power to help our people?
Is the means there, Metro Alex? Do they have the means? Or did Aijo have the means to do what?
I already answered your question to get my point. I said if people in 20, they could construct city, all those things when they did not have the technology, the means was not even there. Like now, we have the means. If you look at Dubai, Dubai was constructed under 50 years. Look at the resources of Dubai and other African countries. Singapore was at par with Nigeria in the 90s. Look at Singapore today with Nigeria. The problem is that the black race is a curse. If you look at the history of the black race, they don't care. They are so egocentric. They don't care about the people. They don't love their country. It's only about me. It's about stealing money that you cannot put it in the bank. It's about stealing money and keeping it in your house and try to burn some of them when they come and discover the money. That's how I'm a black man. I love Africa. But shamefully, we are not doing enough in the Africa.
Ok, merci beaucoup maître pour cette parole ce matin. Alors, on poursuit avec Mutation. Mutation nous présente le fait que normalement on devrait déjà avoir des remaniements ministériels au Cameroun. Le journal nous présente ici 2 ministres délégués qui sont déjà décédés et un secrétaire d'État qui est aussi décédé. Le journal pose la question de savoir pourquoi est-ce que nous n'avons pas encore eu de remaniement ministériel au Cameroun jusqu'à présent.
I understand you're talking about some ministers who passed away. The minister delegated. I'm not really sure with the question, but however,
remaniement ministériel.
Why have we not had, cabinet reshufflement in the country after these ministers have died?
Mr. Lasha.
Yes.
Mr. Lasha, let me tell you, Cameroon is a country that is not run. They say you run a government. In Cameroon, they don't run a government. Let me tell you why.
So what do we do in Cameroon, Maitre?
Let me tell you what happened. I want to give you an example. Do you know that in Cameroon, if you're a member of parliament and you die, they don't replace you until after next election. So it means you don't need a member of parliament.
No, there are alternative. On this senator.
No. I know my brother was a member of parliament in Boyade.
They are substitute now.
There was nobody there. I know that for a fact.
Yes.
There was no alternative. It's the person who replaced him was after the last election. So in Cameroon, it's one person who put Cameroon through presidential decree. They just put this.
But there's something they call alternate. There's something they call alternate member of parliament, and that can only happen when somebody dies.
The fact that I know, yes. My brother was member of parliament there. He passed away there, and nobody replaced him until next election. So sometimes you see the way they appoint people in Cameroon, whether you're a minister, they appoint you not to serve the people of Cameroon. They appoint you because you're either from this part. They will need one person in Northwest. They need person in North. They need somebody in Southwest. They don't appoint them because of competence. That's why Mr. Biak could testify. Mr. Biak is my witness. Mr. Biak say, honor donate and Anglophone come minister the territorial administration. My point is, when you're a minister of territorial administration, are you there to serve the people of the Cameroon to Anglophones? So that's why I don't understand. When I keep on saying these people don't know how to run a country. You take competent people and put them there. Minister, they talk about regional balance.
Yourself first, Maitre. Are you telling me that if you eat and you are not full, you take the food that you have and give other people while you are hungry? You have to first of all think about yourself. That's what they think. I'm asking that if you have food, you prefer to give it to people and then you stay hungry? Maybe that's from the perspective that President Paul Biya is drawing his inspiration. by saying that I've given you guys an Anglophone who will first of all think of you Anglophones before the nation.
You don't become a minister because you're an Anglophone. To me, you could be a Francophone and you can understand how to serve the people of Anglophone more than Anglophone possible. If you look at countries like South Africa, Joe Slovo came from in Europe, but one of the people fighting for apartheid. If you look at Che Guevara, who came from Argentina, it was the people who fought in Cuba. So it's not about, I understand we have an Anglophone problem. Yes, that's my point. But you might be surprised that the person who saved the Anglophone and bring equal status could be a Francophone. It doesn't mean that Anglophone could necessarily do something. When I see Prime Minister John Gute speak, you put Paul Biya, Prime Minister John Gute. If I have a choice, I will choose President Paul Biya. And Mr. Prime Minister John Gute is dishonest, is misleading the people. He was asked by Mr. Paul Biya to have a dialogue in the situation in Northwest and Southwest. We had a dialogue in all the so-called regions in Cameroon. So who is fooling who? Who is
no, don't you think that sometimes they push these people? Maitre Alex, since you say all decision comes from A to D, don't you think that they use these people to say that, okay, we put you ahead to solve your problem and you were unable to solve the problem? Don't you think that they also are victims of circumstance?
Mr. Lasha, listen, if there is a job, you give me the job description. If I'm a football manager, I tell you these are the players that I want, I take that job. If the bill doesn't fit, I won't take the job. So when you go and take a job, that you know,
if you have two options, you either take the job or you are killed. Which one will you choose?
Say it again, please.
You either take the job or you are killed. Which option will you take?
I did not get prepared.
I'm asking you. You have only two options. You take the job or you are killed. What will you do?
My point is that, Mr. Lasha, why are you taking a job that you do anything? Either you're there for your pocket, not for the people. I cannot take a job that I cannot. If you want to appoint me as a minister of justice, I will ask you, independent, if I can amend the system, if I can make sure that you're innocent until proven guilty. There was Gaga who was minister in Cameroon. Was it Minister of What and State Control?
No, public.
He said that he wanted to
public
exercise
service
his function. Realized that they wanted to limit him. What did he do? Mr. Gaga did what? He resigned. That's what you need. Those people who don't resign, they are there because they are egocentric. They are there from themselves. There is no one minister in Cameroon work for the interests of the people of the Cameroon. They work for their pocket and their families. And that's why when they get to power, you see them building new houses, new cars, coming abroad for medical treatment paid by taxpayer. They are in government, they cannot construct hospital. How can you be in government? You cannot construct, you come abroad for treatment. So what happens to the taxpayer? The taxpayer is giving you their money so that you can construct a hospital for them. But all government ministers, they have a file in France. I know it. If they are sick, they evacuate them. How can you be in a position of responsibility and you cannot construct hospital or you cannot go to your own local hospital? All the people, government, the top officer, they come abroad for treatment. Are we mad? Are we dying? Don't we see that the people? How do we allow such a people to be our leaders? We have to open our eyes, we have to look, and we have to ban top officials in Cameroon to come for medical evacuation because they are in power. They should go to the local hospital.
But it is a right, and there are provisions in our law giving them such rights.
Are they using? They are not using their money. They are not using their money to come abroad. Do you know how much it costs to come abroad for medical treatment? Do you know how much that money can build hospital or roads or other amenities in our countries? We should ban these people who are in power not to come. They should go to a foreign hospital. We should make sure they lead by example. One of the things that aches my mind, a lot of people suffer in the camp. They don't have hospital. They cannot have the cancer treatment. They cannot have chemotherapy. But these people, when they are sick, some of them, they are almost dying, but they will still come abroad to waste that money. We want leaders who match their action, their words.
Okay, Maitre, thank you for coming up this morning and to be with us on this other edition of the program. We were expecting a resource person from the PCRN political party. Unfortunately, Gwladys, he was caught in traffic.
Effectivement,
et la pluie. And the rain as well. Thank you to televiewers of Media Prime Television for watching this other edition of the program, which was produced for us this morning by Akeba, Desmond. We were Gwladys, Bomotonguina, and myself, Lasha. See you tomorrow for yet another edition. Bye-bye.